Okay.
All right.
Do that.
Better? Okay, is everybody ready? All right. The board, Matt?
There we go. The board met tonight. The board met tonight in executive session. We're now ready to start the public portion of our meeting. We did have some written communication since our last meeting, which was October 5th. We had a written communication from the GRBDIA on district diversity plans, including the possibility of a cultural audit. And there will be a meeting with GRBDIA that's still to be determined. We had an email from Karima Ravenel with regard to job postings on the Columbia Teachers College job portal. Glenridge is signed up on that. And we had an email from Aaron Garcia with regard to virtual education students and school celebrations. And after discussion in exec session, because it pertains to student matters, I will respond to Ms. Garcia tomorrow. And that is all the written communications. The president's report will be in two parts. We'll discuss goals, possible Glenridge goals in a minute. I wanted to recognize the fact that New Jersey has a new Commissioner of Education, Angelica Allen McMillan, who is until she was nominated by the governor, the acting county superintendent in Morris County. She is a longtime educator. She had a brief career in the private sector and then turned to public education. She will be acting commissioner pending approval by the New Jersey Senate of her appointment. So there will be somebody, we have been without a commissioner since July, so now there will be somebody in that job. I want to recognize the retirements of Duke Mendez and Kay Schwerin, longtime stalwarts of the high school. Duke Mendez, as Dirk told us, is the longest serving member of the staff, faculty and staff. Kay Schwerin has been with us for a long time also. Both of them will leave big shoes to fill at the high school. And now, goals. You all have the sheet with the proposed district goals and also the proposed BOE goals that you all sent to me. Let's start with the proposed district goals. Does anyone want to make any changes in those three goals? Okay. So we will approve them, vote to approve them at the next meeting. The proposed BOE goals, we have a total of 6 of them. It's a lot of goals, but I think all of them are very relevant to our current situation, our situation going forward. Does anyone have any changes other than the curriculum related change that Michael mentioned, which changes the wording from the current wording that you see on the paper to continue to monitor hybrid and remote delivery of content and authentic assessment here and elsewhere? Any other changes to these proposed goals or additions? And on the if there are none, then we will vote to approve them at the next meeting. You did include some possible action items for the committees, which I put on the bottom of the sheet. There's always room for more action items for the committees. So if you have possible action items, send them along and I'll add them to this. This list can be an ongoing list. Any other comments or questions on the proposed district or board goals? Okay, seeing none, superintendent's report.
Thank you, Betsy. I'm going to share my screen with you, so please be patient. So I do have some numbers I'm going to share with you tonight, so I thought it was important I provided a presentation. First of all, I also want to recognize the retirements of Duke Mendez and Kay Sharon. Mr. Mendez is our tenured staff member in the district. He's been with us since September of 1985. He's a physical education teacher, a health teacher, and been our driver's education teacher for a number of years. So that is a very important course for our sophomores. During his tenure, he's been a successful coach. He did serve as an interim assistant principal as we were shifting around administration. I believe it was in 2001, the spring of 2001, and did an excellent job in that role. He's formed a strong relationship with his students. In one year, he received the yearbook dedication as a sign of his commitment to education and the students. And I know he remains in touch with a number of former students. His leadership and experience will be missed. Kay Sharon has been with us since September of 2002. She started working at Linden Avenue School, but made her way up to the high school, where she works as an administrative assistant in the main office. We know that the office staff and our custodial staff are really the brunt and the driving force of how the schools operate. And Ms. Sharon is just everything you want in a main office staff person. She's kind, she's considerate, and she's really is here to help the students, parents out. So she's been a terrific addition, and she'll be missed. I do want to give you a few updates within the district the last couple of weeks. Today was the first day that the high school opened up. So we had our A cohort in today. It was exciting to finally get students back in the high school. Mr. Lawler reported out that it was a terrific opening. Everything went smoothly the first day, and we're excited to have the B cohort come in tomorrow. We've had recently, as the public notices have gone out, 3 cases of positive cases of COVID-19. We are working diligently with our school nurses and the Department of Health, wherever that happens, to notify individuals and to make sure that the public is aware once we're able to have all the information related to the situation. What we don't report out on a routine basis is a number of quarantines. We've had 35 quarantines, and by quarantines, it's incidents where students or staff had to remain outside of the building because of either they've traveled to states that are restricted, they've had close contact, or there's been a doctor's order. We've also had a number of just really precautious steps where individuals may have not come into school just because they weren't feeling well that day, or there might have been a situation where they might have had a close contact, and we're grateful those people are working with us and taking those necessary steps to ensure the safety of our students and staff. At the last meeting, we spoke about Orton Gillingham. We're very proud, and it's on today's agenda, that we're accepting a gift from the Glenridge Education Foundation, and it's a significant gift. They are agreed to funding the training of 9 of our staff members. It's a 2-year training and at a cost of over $94,000. This has been an area that we've been looking to improve on, and the Glenridge Education Foundation has done a tremendous job of funding our efforts to improve our literacy program throughout the district. The they did fund 3 years a literacy consultant for our pre-K to 7 teachers, and this is now the next step as we move forward. So I want to thank the Glen Ridge Education Foundation. I do want to review the SAT scores of from last school year, and you can see these are the numbers of our seniors who graduated last year, graduating seniors last year. We had 131 graduates, 109 of those students took the SATs. And if you look into the first column of critical writing, our students throughout the last few years have consistently gone up in their scores. Last year, a significant jump and way above the state and national levels. The 628 is fantastic to see that type of growth. And you're going to see something very similar with the mathematics, where we've had growth through the last 4 years. And we're looking at the last 4 years because the SATs did change their tests a few years ago. So we're making sure we're comparing apples to apples here. So again, our students scored significantly higher than their counterparts throughout New Jersey and throughout the nation. And just to start looking at it in different categories, the percentage of our students that scored above 1,000, which is the 52nd percentile, 96% of our students scored above 1,000 on the SATs. When we look at the second column, we had 68% of our students scored above 1,200, which is the 82nd percentile. And then the number of students above 1,400, which is the 96th percentile, we had 28% of our students. Again, we're seeing increases across the board there. One of the things we want to look at is, well, what does that mean when we start looking at college admissions? So I did include some numbers, some average SAT numbers for several colleges, so you can get an idea of what our students are scoring and where that would qualify in with certain colleges. We're going to find that it's going to be a much different experience with this senior class who haven't had the same opportunities to take the SATs because of the pandemic. There are many colleges who are looking to go test optional for this coming year, just because it's the difficulty students are having to even register for SATs. And we do not have the recent update from the 2019-2020 SAT scores. That has not been released yet, but I just want to make give you a comparison of the last data we have, where you can see our school has traditionally done well. Excuse me, through the county-wise, we are historically one of the higher scoring schools throughout the county and the state, and we'll continue to monitor those numbers and compare them as the new data comes out. And that is my report for today.
Any questions on that report? Okay. We've now, oh, I'm sorry, Anthony?
You have to unmute if you want to ask a question.
There, okay. Is there a 8th through 12th grade component to support these students? I mean, we need a way to get the to build up the testing, especially now. Is anything changed? I mean, what do you attribute the growth to? And is there something we can take from what we've done and try to incorporate it into our current environment?
I think a couple things that we've done is really look at our curriculum and integrate a little bit of testing prep
Mhm.
whether it's having opening questions, and just for students to become a little bit familiar. We do offer the PSATs for our students in 10th and 11th grade. So part of that is getting them familiar with the exams. The High School Home and School Association has been very supportive of programs, and they in the last couple of years has offered a SAT prep class for for students who are interested. Um, so I think what has helped is having those supports, but also when the SAT switched or made changes in their exam, I also think that helped how our students performed. That it was aligned to a curriculum, and since we do have a strong curriculum, that we were finding more students being successful. Just prior to that happening, we saw a lot of students started more interest in the ACTs, and we had a lot of high performance on the ACTs. I'm hoping to have the ACT numbers next meeting for you guys. But what we started to see when the SAT made that switch, that the number of students taking the ACTs has dwindled a little bit.
Okay.
Other questions or comments on Dirk's report? Okay, that being the case, we have arrived at the first public comment period for questions or comments on agenda items. I will go over our usual rules just for any newcomers who might be with us. Every person has an opportunity to speak for 2 minutes in this public comment, and then another 2 minutes in the second public comment period. You use the raise your hand function, which is down by the participants tab on the bottom of your Zoom screen. Raise your hand and I will recognize you. Please give me your name and your Glen Ridge residency status. If you have multiple questions, please ask them all as you begin so that we can take them one by one. And with that, does anybody have questions or comments for us? Okay. I see one hand up. Fran Wong.
Hi, I'm happily sitting here with no mask on, sitting on my porch. I just wanted to take a moment to say a few words about the Orton Gillingham project that we are funding tonight. I am chair of the Board of Trustees of the Educational Foundation. And the road to this project started way back in the spring of 2018, when we received a request for funding for a modified short program for teachers shortly after school got out in June that year. And 25 teachers were able to participate in that kind of a dip your toes in the water type program. And it was so successful. They just raved about it. They were there when everybody else had started their summer vacations. They thoroughly enjoyed the experience and got a lot out of it, which we could then see because they started asking for materials and support items the following fall and spring. And then last spring, we got a request from Mr. Phillips and Mr. DeWitt to fund a intensive program for teachers to partake in the 2-year certification program. And this is a big commitment on their part. It's their actual, college level or, graduate level courses. And particularly this year, this is a huge commitment. I really expected to see some drop off maybe because of COVID and all the remote learning experiences not and they're actually doing this by remote, I believe. But anyway, they all came through. Originally, we were asked for, I believe, 3 or 4 teachers, and maybe it was a little more than that. But we decided to go for all of those who applied, and there were 9. And they cover all of the buildings, I believe, all the grade levels. And we're very pleased. I've gotten the most lovely thank you notes from them, and we're really looking forward to seeing what they learn put into the classrooms, and their sharing of what they're learning with their colleagues, so that the seeds can be sown throughout the grade levels. I would like to just thank Jack DeWitt for putting up with the trustees. We we ask a lot of questions, and that goes for Mr. Phillips as well. He's quite used to us asking a lot of questions, but we really get down in the weeds sometimes, and they were just so patient and diligent and persistent. And I think that this is just going to be a wonderful thing. So, and finally, I would be remiss in not pointing out that anyone who is so inclined can certainly donate to the support of this program. We're always willing to accept donations of any denomination, and that can be done on our website at thegref.org. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Fran, and I would have done this later in the program, but thank you to the foundation for this very, very generous gift that is the realization of a lot of district aspirations over the years, and you have made it possible. So thank you so much. Okay, Brad Lieber.
Hi. Hi, it's actually Eileen Lieber too. And
Okay. Hi,
How are
Eileen.
you? Hi. Oregon Gilliam, awesome. Great. Very excited about that. That's awesome. I actually have just a question about the, since the ACTs and, SATs and ACTs were brought up this evening. You know, for a while now, there's been a push of universities kind of going away from looking at the SATs and ACTs, and coronavirus has definitely accelerated that, for sure. And I'm just curious, as the board, as the school, has anyone kind of thought in terms of, you know, is there a plan in place for when universities aren't placing so much weight on the SAT and the ACT, and how that might be addressed?
Okay, Dirk.
I think we discussed that a lot when we start meeting with our high school parents about the college process, and that happens initially during the freshman year of high school, but more thoroughly as their first days as a junior. I think we've already started seeing a lot of colleges put less weight on college entrance exams and more on curriculum, on the history of how well our students have done at the college level, and looking at the courses they're taking, and are they challenging themselves. And I believe Glen Ridge has established itself as a district that historically our students do well, and that has helped us in the college process. So that it's something that we're constantly keeping an eye on, talking to college admission officers about, to make sure that we're putting our students in a good position when it comes to the college admission process.
Okay, thank you. Kim Engel.
Hi. I had 2 questions in regards to COVID. One, I'm a Glen Ridge resident, sorry.
Thank you.
But yeah, when there is an exposure in a class, and you know, as it said on the report, there's been 3, and I've read the emails that come out. Are all the students required to quarantine when after an exposure? And then my other question was, like, I'm reading the New Jersey Health Department, the regional risk matrix that's out, and it does state that if like the community is at a high risk level, that it's suggested to consider implementing fully remote learning. So I just didn't know if there was like a number of rate of transmission or something that the board is looking at to take that into consideration, because I know our numbers of COVID cases are climbing as a community of Essex County in particular.
Mhm. All right, do you want to start with that, Dirk?
Certainly. I will say every COVID case has its unique characteristics about them, and it's something that that we consult with the local board of health before making a determination. Out of those 3 cases, not every case involved someone being in a classroom. So I'll limit it to that just for privacy's sake. But in general, if we have an individual in a classroom and there's been close contact with other students or staff in that classroom, we will quarantine the entire classroom. But again, we will consult with the Board of Health before making that determination and notifying individuals, the parents, and the school community. As far as a high risk level, New Jersey did release a matrix based a colored matrix based on different levels. And at one point, there is a recommendation to close down the entire district based on the local trends. I do not have those numbers or that matrix in front of me, but I'll be more than happy to share it in the BOE highlights so individuals can see it. I believe we've moved into a second level on the matrix. So, you know, the way we reacted will be a little bit more careful than being on the lowest level on the matrix. And again, this is something that we will have discussions with the local board of health. On Friday, I have a county superintendent meeting where the county director of the county health director will be in attendance. So I'm sure we're going to have a lot of questions for her as we're monitoring these numbers closely.
I believe, Dirk, the last time I saw the matrix, which is updated weekly, we had moved into the yellow, which is the second highest category from being in the green. About 3 weeks ago, southern and central New Jersey were in the yellow, and northern, northeastern, northwestern New Jersey were in the green. Now the entire state has moved into that yellow zone. I think we would be really considering we would shut down if we moved into the red, but it's that that yellow zone that's sort of the yellow zone is almost a gray area. So we listen to the bulletins. We are cognizant of what the State Board of Health is doing, the State Commissioner of Health and the State Board of Health, and also our local health officials. Okay, anyone else with questions or comments? All right, if that being the case, we will go on to our regular business. This is the second meeting of the month, so we do not have committee and liaison reports tonight unless someone has something time sensitive. Does anyone have a time sensitive matter or meeting? I'm sorry, Anthony, you're muted.
I have a question, and I'm not sure if I should wait until the second period to ask it.
Go ahead.
It's about the GRA leadership has approached me about putting up the rims on the forest courts. Their concern surrounds them trying to hold basketball tryouts outdoors before it gets too cold. And so they're really looking to see when that can happen, because they'd like to see how far they can go, you know, with building the team, and maybe sports will be shut down, maybe not, but they want to go through the process and be as ready for a season as possible.
I guess the good news for the GRA is I have put in a work order for the rims to be put back up. So hopefully within the week or so, they should be back up. I will follow up with our director of maintenance to see when that will happen.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in your packets, you have minutes from the board meeting of October 5th, both exec session and regular session. Does anyone have any additions or corrections to those minutes? All right, seeing none, Michael, would you move the minutes?
Yes, I'll move M1.
All right, may I have a second?
Second,
Second from Dave Campbell. Barbara, would you call the roll?
Abstain.
Ms. Boyavucci? Mr. Campbell?
aye.
Mr. DeLu?
Aye.
Ms. Lang?
Aye.
Mr. Romano?
Aye.
Ms. St. Auburn?
Aye.
Dr. Yaris Ramos?
Aye.
Ms. Ginsburg?
Aye. Okay, the motion carries. Administrative items. We have several important administrative items, including the uniform memorandum of agreement between the board and the police, and also a memorandum of understanding with NJIT, as well as a change in the school calendar. David, would you move the administrative items?
I move A1 through A3.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Yes, Heather.
I just have a question about the calendar. Not really the change for June 19th, but for starting before Labor Day. Is that going to be our default now?
I wouldn't say it's a default. It's just the unique circumstances of the calendar for this current year and next year. Labor Day starts early, late, I think next year. And the day that follows Labor Day is a Jewish holiday, so we would really be starting later than what we would have this year with Labor Day. So I think after next school year, we'll be back in the routine of starting after Labor Day.
Any other questions or comments on the administrative item? All right. David, would you move the administrative item?
I renew my motion.
Sorry,
A1 through A3.
may I have a second? Okay. Barbara, would you call the roll?
Mr. Bonnet?
Aye.
Ms. Boyavucci?
Aye.
Mr. Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. DeLu?
Aye.
Ms. Lang?
Aye.
Mr. Romano?
Aye.
Ms. St. Auburn?
Aye.
Dr. Yaris Ramos?
Aye.
Ms. Ginsburg?
Aye. All right, the motion carries. Personnel items. Tracy, would you move the personnel items?
Yes, I move P1 through P10.
All right, may I have a second? Second from Ally. In keeping with our policy, personnel items are discussed in executive session. So Barbara, when you're ready, would you call the roll?
Mr. Bonnet?
Aye.
Ms. Boyavucci?
Aye.
Mr. Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. DeLu? Ms. Lang?
Aye.
Mr. Romano?
Aye.
Ms. St. Auburn?
Aye.
Dr. Yaris Ramos?
Aye.
Ms. Ginsburg?
Aye. Motion carries. Before we move the business items, I want to thank the foundation again for the generous $94,000 donation that will afford our staff members Orton Gillingham training. So thank you to Fran if she's still listening. With that, Paul, would you move the business items?
Yes, I'd like to move items B1 through B14.
All right, may I have a second?
Second.
Any
Second.
questions? Second from Teresa, I think. Any questions or comments on the business items? Okay, seeing none. Barbara, would you call the roll?
Mr. Bonnet, Ms. Boyle-Valucci,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Mr. DeLu, Ms. Lang,
Aye.
Mr. Romano,
Aye.
Ms. St. Aubern,
Aye.
Dr. Yaris Ramos,
Aye.
Ms. Ginsburg.
Aye. The motion carries. We have now reached the second public comment period for comments or questions on agenda items or other items pertaining to the running of the schools. The same rules apply and the same raise your hand mechanism. So please go ahead. And I see Jennifer Jones.
Hello. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. I just want to say first a quick thank you for all the work you guys are doing. It's been really inspiring. So thank you very much. I just had a quick question about pre-K next year. I was wondering if you know where that will be housed, and if not, when you think you will be making that decision.
Dirk?
At this time, there hasn't been a decision made. I will make it relatively quick, and then I'll bring it up with the curriculum committee, which we meet on Friday this week, and then I'll report out on the next board meeting.
Thank you. I see, I believe, Harris Tehran.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to know if the board was considering doing a special education audit, if they're doing audits on our programming, or if they should keep that in mind for the future. It's been mentioned before, but in your introduction, you mentioned that there might be some type of audits being done.
We did, the subject has come up, but Dirk, is that something that you've considered?
It's something that we would consider doing. Again, something I bring up the curriculum committee on Friday. Part of that is making sure that we find an audit group that could do a comprehensive audit that would be meaningful to us. So, and I can reach out to other districts to see if they've gone through a similar process to get feedback from them.
I could certainly also send you some audits that I've seen and some companies that do it for other districts in New Jersey.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
It'd be helpful.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Kim Engel.
Hi, Kim Engel, I'm a resident of Glen Ridge. I just had a quick follow-up question in regards to my first question about the matrix. Where are you guys getting the information about what level we're in from the New Jersey Health? It's low risk, green, moderate, yellow, high risk, orange, and then very high risk is red. And then also when you say community spread, are we talking specifically about Glen Ridge, Essex County, Northeast New Jersey? I just wanted to understand, you know, what information, like what the data is that you guys are looking at to make these decisions. Thank you.
The four color dashboard comes from the State Department of Health. The spread, Dirk, does that come from the local Board of Health?
So the local Board of Health gives me statistics for Glen Ridge, and I also get it for Essex County. And then with the state matrix, we are in a region, so we follow that region.
And that for us is the Northeast region.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I see Nancy Breslin.
Good evening. It's actually Charlie Breslin. Sorry.
Hi, Charlie.
How are you all? So I joined a bit late, so if this was addressed, please interrupt me, and I apologize in advance. But first of all, the response that we all had over the weekend for the child at Ridgewood, I think, was a great example. Or of the incident at Ridgewood of whomever was, I think, a real great communication all around. It was, lightning fast and everywhere. And, Mr. Phillips and certainly Dr. Donovan, we really appreciate it. And it was, why we feel confident sending the kids to school as a family. I think I just had the question about secondary infections and or secondary, I forget what it's called, secondary exposure when you have family members. So in our, specific case, we had one of my daughters was in the affected class and was supposed to quarantine. However, she shares a room with her twin sister, who then went to, theoretically was cleared to go to school. And then not to say a brother who should have just started hybrid high school today, but we held him back on our own, thinking that it's not appropriate, although theoretically it's within the bounds of the Bloomfield Board of Health. This is a tricky situation, and I know that you're not medical professionals, but I felt like I just wanted to put it out there that we were very fortunate that it was really red flags went up and prevented a bad thing from happening. So in the end, nobody was at more risk than usual. But I can't help thinking, what if it really was more than it turned out to be, and the policy about siblings. And I don't expect an answer right now, but I do want to put it out there that it seems like when you break the bubble, the bubble's broken.
Sure. Thank you, Charlie. Dirk, did you want to comment on that?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, every case or circumstances is a bit unique. So when we're talking secondary or third level contacts, we follow what is recommended by the CDC and New Jersey Department of Health. And so if someone had close contact, they are quarantined. They are at a risk greater than most. If that person then has a contact, let's say with a sibling that's close contact, technically the Board of Health and others are not recommending that sibling is quarantined. What we've been doing is requesting from families that maybe to keep the child from home for a couple of days, just monitor. But it's their prerogative. It's not a protocol that we're demanding at this time. Again, we're just following along with the CDC, the Department of New Jersey guidelines, and using the recommendations of the local Board of Health. But that third level, it is a little tricky, and you're concerned always about the what if. So we're trying to be cautious, but at the same time, understanding the flexibility and the levels of risk diminishes as that chain goes down the line.
Okay, I see John Militello.
Hi, it's Michelle Militello.
Hi, Michelle.
Can you hear me? Hi. Gabby's in 7th grade and Cecilia's in 4th grade, and we live on Ferncliff Terrace. And I wanted to ask 2 questions. One related to, I heard a lot about auditing today, so I'm curious about auditing of the class meets and whether or not that is something that has been proposed or thought about at either schools, at any of the schools, I should say. And so I'm wondering about that. And the second thing is related to the length of the day, particularly at the high school, and whether or not there was any current consideration, given that the kids are now, or some are back in school, given the time that it takes to send.
I think you might.
Instruction. Oh, can you hear me?
We lost you for just a minute.
Oh, shoot,
if you can
sorry.
just repeat the second part.
Sure. I was curious about whether or not the length of the school day has been considered to be increased. I know that classroom instruction time is now even less because of having the kids having to clean at the end of their classes, particularly at the high school. And again, whether or not there's been consideration to lengthening the day.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Dirk?
So on the if you're still on the line, the audit of the class meet, I'm not exactly clear what you're asking, being audited there.
And Dirk, what she may be asking is whether we're conducting any kind of penetration testing, because early on with Zoom and Google Meet,
Yep.
there were sort of creeps jumping on these meets.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, we can hear you now.
Yeah,
Sorry.
sorry. No, that's not what I meant. I guess
Oh.
whether or not, whether or not there was any auditing of like classroom protocol with respect to some of the protocols that were outlined at the outset, like everybody's camera has to be on, those types of things, and whether or not there's been any auditing of those procedural types of things with respect to the meets themselves. I keep hearing about like questions are being asked or your hands are getting raised and chats, the people text in the chat, all of the stuff that was supposed to be not happening, happening. And so I just was wondering how that is being, how those procedures are being reviewed, if you will.
In that situation, I'll follow up with the principals to ask to get their feedback and get their input. I've observed a few classes, so I haven't observed that type of behavior. I know with any class, there's classroom management techniques that need to be utilized to keep the students engaged, and it's been a little bit more challenging for the teachers as they're at Ridgewood in high school. Well, at Ridgewood as they're navigating both in-person and remote instruction at the same time, and now the high school is going to be experiencing that. I will let you know the high school teachers have communicated with the Ridgewood Avenue teachers who have been doing this for the last couple months to learn a little bit more about the success and the strategies that have been useful to them as they start to embark on their hybrid model starting today. As far as the length of the day, we've discussed the possibility of lengthening the day as our phase 2, since we're just starting off under the hybrid model today. We're going to give that a few weeks and see where we're at, and then determine how we're going to move forward. We've discussed the possibility at Ridgewood, but our concern right now is as we're seeing numbers start to increase locally in the town and within the county and state, and we've had a couple of situations within the school district, we're a little hesitant to create more opportunities for exposures. So we're going to monitor that closely before we decide to move forward with lengthening the school day.
And Dirk, just as a corollary to the first question, I believe that you and the other administrators are doing observations of teaching, right? Of the teaching faculty?
Correct. So at the high school level, they've been observing, and they've been observing the teachers teaching remotely. At Ridgewood, we've been observing, and we get to see the combination of them managing both the live and the remote instruction. And at the primary schools, it's been a combination of all live and we've observed the all remote teachers also.
I just wanted to add that several districts have a hybrid schedule where there are remote classes at home as part of the regular day, and they rotate so that their day is, the 4 hours in school, but then there's maybe 2 classes in the afternoon when students get home. So that's a way to, lengthen the school day without adding, say, lunch into the mix.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else in our audience with questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Well, just before that, I have one comment, which
Sure.
is vote.
Sorry, Michael?
I said vote.
He said vote.
Vote. Oh, yes, everyone should go out and vote. If you haven't voted already, do so. Any other questions or comments? All right. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Moved by Anthony. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Michael. Thank you all.